Zhuge Liang is here, and I know what you're all wondering. Shappy, where's the testing video? Well, I've got you covered. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another Rise of Kingdoms gameplay episode from your very own Shappy Gaming. Today, we are going to be talking about Zhuge Liang. I have reports that we're going to be going through, and this is your typical testing video. I'm going to be breaking down all of the different reports, who I think you should be pairing Zhuge Liang with, and I got it. Let's try it and rate it 1 to 10. Now, we'll be going through and deciding whether Zhuge Liang should be a core part of every lineup, even if you're not an archer primary. So, with that, we have to start with something that I think everyone needs to see in order to understand the viability of Zhuge Liang. So, here you go. What you're seeing right there is Guan's AoE in comparison to Zhuge Liang's AoE. Zhuge YSG have a massive AoE. In fact, I think Zhuge's AoE is even slightly larger than YSG's. And the craziness about that is that Zhuge's skills are so valuable in a murder ball that AoE makes such a big difference, because you want all of your opponents to deal 15% less damage. And all you need to do is hit 5 nearby enemy troops. With an AoE that big, that is no problem at all. So Zhuge is absolutely going to be insane. That said, we did our testing using 1v1 battles. And I know all of the infantry fanboys and fangirls in the comment section are going to be, Shappy, am I totally screwed? And I don't know. You make that decision for yourself. What I will say is we did 2 different testings with Zhuge against Guan Scipio. Guan Scipio is what I would say probably the current meta infantry pair that you might run. There is a thing that I will call out here, which is that Guan has a silence and Zhuge really takes advantage of it. So as you can see here, Zhuge absolutely annihilated my Guan Scipio. And this is a naked test. We didn't have equipment on. And this was with my good friend Duke. Huge shout out to Archer Duke in 1079. Thank you for helping me test. Makes a big difference. So a couple things I'm going to call out about this. Duke is using the Zenith archery skin. And in this particular testing, I was just using my normal cavalry skin. So just something to keep in mind. What I will also call out is he had that skin for every single duel that we did, and we both had War Frenzy. So just keep that in mind. I believe he might also be a higher VIP. Yeah, he's VIP 18. I am not. But my infantry march got wrecked. It was closer than I thought, at least in this particular instance. But if we look at the Boudica one, oh my God, Boudica Zhuge absolutely annihilated my Guan Scipio. And what this means for those of you that are running infantry today is in a murder ball, if you get hit by Zhuge's AoE, it's going to hurt. And this wasn't a one-on-one, and I know a lot of Boudica skills are tailored to that. But if you're running Boudica Zhuge, target every Guan you see, because these trades are absolutely insane. Boudica was left with over half of the troops that she started with. And with YSG, it was a little bit closer. And we'll be going through whether I think you should be running Boudica or YSG or Nebu or all of those. So with that, let's start at the beginning. We decided that we were going to test against Nevsky Joan. Why? Nevsky and Joan are a great pair in the field, and they both have very little RNG to their skills, which means that we should be able to get reliable tests, test after test after test, because my march is not really changing. We were also using T4, mainly to keep the healing cost down, and both of us were outside of alliances, as you can see here. So the first test was Boudica YSG. We just kind of wanted to see what the level set was here. And as you can see, Boudica YSG is a phenomenal pair. I'd say this is currently the best archer pair prior to the arrival of Zhuge. And as you can see from the testing, it paid off. So this was a great test, but that's not really what you're here for. So let's take a look and see. So in this test, we used Boudica Zug versus Nevsky Joan. And as you can see, I took less severely wounded, and he had more troops left over. Now, what I will say here is that, again, Zug is predominantly an AoE commander, and I'm not sure that this made all that much of a difference in a one-on-one scenario. That said, I think if you do look at this, you can see that Boudica YSG is still a very viable pair. So you don't necessarily have to max Zug, but as we get through the reports, you'll start to see why you probably should. So here we have Zug Boudica with Zug primary. And as you can see, Nevsky lost once again. This seems to be the norm for these testings. And Zug was left with 27,000 troops left over. That is a stark difference from the 31,000 troops that we see with Boudica as primary. So I think if you're running Zug, my suggestion would be probably put Boudica primary if you're going to pair. And the reason for that is twofold. One, Boudica YSG is already a march that is in the field that is very strong. And if you are going to use Zug, I would probably put him behind Boudica because I expect that Zug is going to get targeted probably more than her because of his massive AoE and the fact that no one wants to have to deal with that. And so Zug is probably going to get killed very quickly and early on. Next, we wanted to see how does Nebu Zug actually shake out, because this was one of the first pairs that I looked at. I was like, this could have really good synergy. And there are a couple things to call out here. It lost. Nebu Zug lost. Does that mean you should not use this pair? In my humble opinion, Zug, much like YSG, is one of those commanders that you can use with just about any archer commander. So if you want Cyrus testing or you want Tomyris testing, let me know in the comment section below. I could probably make a short or something to show you guys how that trades off. What I will say here is Nebu Zug very nearly beat my Nevsky Joan. And to me, that is really valuable because I don't think Nebu YSG would. And if you're running Nebu Zug in the field, I don't expect that your Nebu is going to be targeted because, again, you have Boudicas to target and you have Zugs to target. So why would you target a Nebu? I think this might be a sleeper pair. Even though the duel didn't go great, I do think that there's potential here for this pair to be viable. Next, we tried Zug primary, which went significantly worse. So again, Zug primary, probably not going to be your best bet. And then we tried Zug YSG. Zug YSG actually did really good, which I'm not terribly surprised by. I figured that Zug had this massive AoE. YSG would also benefit from that massive AoE. It doesn't quite do better than Boudica YSG or than Boudica Zug. But if you have YSG already maxed, it's totally viable. And I think the glass cannon that these two have delivers so much AoE skill damage that it's totally viable. You could run this in a field, you can put it in a murder ball, and you will take out numerous marches. And if you're targeting a Nevsky Joan, which I probably would advise against, you're still going to win that battle, which I think is really important to call out here, is that even if you're just using Zug YSG, first off, you're going to get targeted. So be prepared to be swarmed. That's not ideal. But if you can avoid getting targeted, this pair is a massive glass cannon. Swiftly moving onwards, we tried Henry Zug because I expect this to be the next rally meta for archers, and it did not disappoint. Even in the field, this pair is super viable, and it did better than Nebu. So if you have Henry maxed already, you may want to do Henry Zug. And I think if you're a rally player, this may be even more beneficial for you because you only need to max one commander. You could just use Henry Zug and deliver massive amounts of damage. Also, with a lot of Zug's skills, he will be a good commander to have in a rally. The concern I would have is mainly around this march getting swarmed. But again, I think Zug has skills that deter that, and Henry does. So really good pairing. And we tried Zug Henry. Don't do it. It sucked. And then again, we're back to our infantry pairs. So let's talk about Zug. You guys have seen the reports. You've seen the testing that I've done. And I have a couple of takeaways. First off, Zug is the Nevsky for archers. The way that I see that is you could put him with just about anyone, and he will deliver massive amounts of damage. A lot of people have asked me, Shappy, do I need to max Zug in order to use him? And my personal opinion is probably not. I think Zug is incredible when maxed, and I'm going to be maxing him personally. But I don't think that he necessarily has to be expertise in order to use him. I think that if you could get him 5'5", 5'5", 5'1", maybe. Yeah, I think if you could get him 5'5", 5'1", he's going to be pretty viable. You lose out on a fair bit of damage factor and direct damage factor. But my honest recommendation is if you are an archer primary, or even not an archer primary, you should be maxing Zug. You can use him when he's not fully maxed if you want, but as I said, he's like the Nevsky. You can use Nevsky at 5'5", 5'1", but he's going to be better expertise, and I think this is the same story with Zug. He delivers massive amounts of skill damage. He has a debuff built in. He has a damage factor boost, and overall, this is such a solid commander. So who should you pair him with? As I said before, Boudica YSG is a great pairing. If you want to break up your Boudica YSG, I think that Boudica Zug is 100% the way to go. If you have a single archer march, I would go Boudica Zug. That said, you can run Zug very easily with YSG and deal tons of damage, as you saw in that duel. And I do like the double AoE of those two, as well as the massive skill damage, because you have the skill damage boost from Zug, and you have the skill damage boost from YSG. So those two have incredible synergy. If you're a rallier, I would definitely use Henry Zug. Just throw it in the field, throw it in a rally, and you are chilling either way. There are a couple of commanders I probably would advise against pairing him with. I would not put Zug with Artemisia. I think that Zug with Artemisia is probably going to be a mistake because he is going to be targeted so frequently that her skills, where she debuffs herself, are probably going to hurt you more than help. I also do not know that I would be putting Zug with Edward or Tomyris. I think you could. The concern I have with Tomyris is her skills benefit from a slower skill cycle, and Zug's expertise gives you extra rage. So typically, that's not good synergy. I also wouldn't put him with Edward because, again, Zug is going to be targeted immediately. And honestly, Edward is too, because his skill cycle is so slow and he's a really easy target. You do get a little bit of march speed bonus with him, and you do get a little bit of health, but honestly, it's not enough to justify the pairing. I would avoid it if you can. That said, if you only have Edward maxed, I imagine the pairing would probably be pretty good because you do get this damage to infantry increase, another skill damage boost here, and you do get a little bit of health and march speed. So it could be totally viable, and Edward's skills would benefit from the increased rage regen that you get with Zug. So you could use it, probably would not be my first choice or my second. My honest recommendation is, no matter who you are in Rise of Kingdoms, Zug is going to be an S tier commander that you can use with pretty much anyone. I would recommend, if you have one Archer March, do Boudica Zug. That said, you can probably pair him with Nebu primary or YSG as secondary. Now for talents. The talent tree that I would go for with Zug, and this is the same talent tree that we had for Boudica, is the skill tree and archer tree. And in our testing, I believe we had the full archer tree and the rest was skill tree. If you do want to see this talent tree, I am going to post it in my Discord, so be sure to click that link in the description and go into the, I believe it's the commander tab, and it'll be sitting in there for you guys to use. Also, if you want to see all the reports, I will also be dropping all of those in there as well. So if you haven't already, do join the Discord community. I hope that this has been helpful. I don't know about you. I'm maxing Zug. Thank you all. Be sure to hit that subscribe button right over there, bottom right-hand corner, and hit the bell so you get notified when new episodes come out.